Mr. Costa.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good, buddy. How are you? Are you rocking a robe right now?
Got my bathrobe on. Man, yeah, I'm feeling better than when I was live earlier. I was just like sniffling all over the place and sneezing and stuff. And so, man, I'm good. So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone watching, I told CVO here that he's gonna have to do the brunt of the talking today. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
No issue. Man, we got like the Hugh Hefner of crypto right here, I feel, with that
I just
bathrobe,
need a
man.
pipe. I need a pipe. So
So
what's up?
last week, man, we talked on Tuesday, right? We did our crypto taco talk, and
Yeah.
new all time high the next day. So I figured that we should talk again today, so we get the new all time high tomorrow. 69K, 68K, whatever that may look like. Meg BZK, how you doing?
Oh,
Everybody
what's up,
there.
Mike?
So yeah, man, I'll do some talking here, man. I'm sure you got some things you can spark some conversation with, and I'll run
I'm
with
on
it a
top of
bit. If
you.
um, let's see. Yeah. So what's going on with you, man? So like basically we were talking about last week, which now it's the last week of October, right? So October, we both were under the same, on the same page as far as like kind of coming in at the around the 65, 63, the plan B target
Yep.
of that. And you pretty much nailed so far, at least, that 67K would be the month high, right? Which is our new all-time high, which was pretty stellar.
Yeah.
Unless we get a little pop here. So I'm more so under the impression that we will see actually maybe, like I said, like tomorrow, middle of the week for here, like 68, 69, maybe even 70K this
Wow.
week, but then a retrace back to close the month at around 65, right? At right around the previous all-time high. Yet to be seen. I think between the two of those, I pretty much just chopping up between 60 and 70K. And the major reason I think that we saw a really nice pullback at 67K anyways was just right at 65, the all-time high. What did new not new, but what did late leverage traders do? They jumped in at the all-time high thinking we would
Yep.
explode higher, right? So 65, 66, 67, and then we had a 12% pullback so far. I mean, that would have liquidated anybody with 10x leverage or more if you would
Yep.
have jumped in, to right there. So that's pretty much that kind of chopped up that. And then the idea of the chop, even if we go up to like 60, 70K, if we were to break that $67,000 barrier now, once again, everybody's going to jump in, getting super excited, thinking we're going to continue straight up. And then I would imagine we'd get another pullback once again to actually retest the all-time high, 65K, which we haven't done yet because we obviously fell below it. So yeah, I guess for me for the remainder of this month, I'm looking for that to kind of be the outcome. Is that we'll pretty much just kind of dabble around where we are now with a possibility to see 70, 74, in that realm of somewhere before we kind of get a pullback.
Okay. That'll be interesting. I mean, so we're agreed on the end of the month price. I mean, between that 43, $45,000. I I hope you're wrong. How about I just say that? I was going to say like man, that would suck to go up to six,
What?
break through the all-time high again and then go back down to the 63, $65,000 range. I've just been saying on my YouTube, on wherever else, that I just think we're going to be flat for the rest of the month and then close. Same deal, stock to flow around that 63,000, a little bit higher than 63,000. Maybe even higher than 64,000. And then I've been saying November 1st that we're going to have a pump like we did on October 1st.
Yeah.
I have been very specific in saying November 1st, break through the all-time high and don't look back until 100,000 or so get rejected around there. I mean, I know you said 107,000 was a key point for you last week when we talked. I just either way, I just think that we're going to pump in November and it's going to be to new highs. And then December is going to be the big month, just like you. So between now and then, who knows, man? Who knows? But I'd love to hear. Are you going to pull up some charts to explain your line of thought with the rest of the week?
Yeah.
It looked like you were doing some work on
Yeah.
the computer there.
Yeah, I was moving some stuff around there. Somebody said
Yeah.
that we're going to have to settle, which I don't think we disagree on this either, but we're going to have to come to an agreement on our Litecoin target.
Yeah. So
So,
I heard somebody on my live stream was saying you were saying 2,500 to 5,000, which I don't know if
mhm.
that's true, but like I've been saying 1,500, and every time I say 1,500 for Litecoin, there's inevitably two or three people who are like, $1,500? Are you insane? And so then to
Yeah.
hear 2,500, if that's
I
true,
always
it's
got to
like,
be more bullish than you, man. Come on.
what's that?
I have to be more bullish than you. Like, you know that.
Except for
So
Ethereum.
this,
But anyway,
except for Ethereum. Yeah. I set the buy so that I could be wrong, on that one. And then you can come in as the Litecoin hero for sure.
there we go. Yeah.
No, so Litecoin reason is you said 1,500. So what is the reason for your $1,500 target?
You
Just if I
know,
may ask.
I mean, I'm super bullish on Litecoin. I think just looking at the Litecoin to Bitcoin chart, that it follows a similar pattern where it just kind of drags along and then it has a massive breakout. And so for me to
Mm-hmm.
say $1,500, there's a world that exists where I could see it going to double that amount. But I know how much hate I get for saying $1,500 that I don't want to say like any higher number than that because
Right.
because of just the garbage that I get. Anyway, so
No, I feel you, man. Um, yeah, and the thing is too is like before I even pull that up. So with Litecoin and the going, so there's so much you can tell. Not you can tell. Let's take that back. I don't want to come off the wrong way, but a lot of people don't do their own research, right, at all. Like they don't look into anything further than you and I saying something, right? Um, and there's a going rhetoric that or idea that Litecoin or the X factor, we'll call it that, right? That those are the only two that haven't broke their all-time highs from 2017. As far as like large cap goes, whatever. And Tron was another large cap back then, which regardless of what you feel about it, it was a large cap around that time frame. It came in top 10. That's nowhere near the all-time high. Qtum, Neo, Litecoin. EOS,
yeah,
several other, like basically like top, 50 altcoins still have not even came close, right? And
yeah,
and the thing with I bring up Neo and Qtum and Litecoin specifically because they actually have USD charts, so you can pull up the against Bitcoin chart, and it's a little confusing though because obviously as Bitcoin's
mhm,
price comes down, like it's not as easy to kind of read it. So this is Litecoin on the daily chart, and there's a lot of this chart's a little noisy, I'll say, but all right. So ignore all these targets and everything. This is all for the shorter term, but essentially, you got Litecoin in this. This is multi-year, by the way. This is a daily time frame. So this is 2018 high. Obviously, we are where we are. We never necessarily broke that all-time high. We pretty much came up and tagged near it.
yeah,
But realistically, you're looking at like one of the most, super bullish patterns in anything, right? This is the Adam and Eve double bottom on a
yeah,
multi-year time scale at that. You can look at this as a cup and handle. Over here is a smaller. This is patterns inside of patterns inside of patterns. On top of that, it hasn't broke out. Blah blah blah. So when Ethereum breaks out next month in October, November, whenever, and all these alts start really taking off, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these 2017 coins kind of explode with it. And I'll bring up Neo next just to kind of show you that example there too. But the same way I get most of my targets, which, along with other reasoning, not just pulling up the fib extension and just being like, hope for the best. But when there's this much data too, and you can kind of pull this up on a multi-year basis a lot better. This is like how I get the Bitcoin price target for 250K. This is how I get
yeah,
the $30, $8 X factor, call it. So anyways, the targets up here, after you break the all-time high, $400. I don't know if everybody can see that, but this yellow line is $400, right? Or 420, the all-time high. The next target would be 926, and then the most the most realistic target to me would be this 1618. Now, does it have to hit that? No, it can literally be anywhere in between here. That could land right at your target, 1500, 1800. It could be 1900. But the 1618 is always the ideal target there. In a
yeah,
parabolic situation, or I also call them the YOLO targets a lot of the time, but it's these two, right? So these two I don't anticipate seeing by any means. This is like $7,000 and this is like $20,000. So obviously I don't think we're going to see those at all.
yeah,
But right here in between here, if we were to land in the middle, I think that would be pretty likely. I've always kind of had a even back in the day, like, you know, when I was always like looking for Litecoin to go to 5K when it was at 420. 5K is definitely like a super, super, like I said, a high end, like if we get a major influx, maybe we see it, but realistically this $2,500 target would be my target for Litecoin. Probably on a live stream, I might have said, you know, I might bunch it into the idea of saying like 25 to 5K or whatever, but that's where I get the $2,500 target from. Neo, which is another, you know, project that is, you know, top whatever, and has not really, it's actually been doing pretty well here and there. I see it kind of, you know, moving up on coin market cap a couple times. Let's see here though. I'll just show you Qdom though too. This isn't even all of Qdom's price history, but just on, you know, for example as well, this was May of 2018. So there's actually a, you know, a top somewhere else along in there, but you know, Qdom, same thing, right? This is multi-year. This is 3 years of a cup and handle right here. That's just poised to break out, right? Like this, pretty massive in that aspect, right? And then you got Neo, which is another one, right? This one was like $200 back in the day. And this is, once again, years of, you know, consolidation right here, right?
Yeah.
So cup and handle, once again, the target for Neo actually a little bit, I'm interested to see how this comes out, because Neo actually has a $2,200 target too, which is at $40 now. So that would be like 50x. So obviously, like, take it, you know, with a grain of salt. But I'm interested to see how these 2017 coins, you know, take off.
I'm very interested in
either
that.
way, either way, the $500 would be, you know, pretty realistic. I think, you know, most projects at this point are going to 10x, except for Bitcoin and Ethereum, to me, right? So, what was the other thing we were going to talk about there? Bitcoin for the rest of this month, right? So, I think we went over, like, I'm almost like not embarrassed by any way, but like it's funny to show this like fractal, but I just think it's I would say embarrassed, because most people, you know, any other TA would kind of scoff this out of the room, but a lot of times we take fractals, right, and just kind of get an idea of what's going on. So I'll explain what I did there. Is that this is the Bitcoin chart, and I went back here to 2017 because we compare a lot of things with this cycle, right? And I took this the September low, and you can copy over it with the bars and everything, and it makes a little ghost pattern, and I dragged it over. But I took this area, right, and I just threw it over, which it's eerily similar to really how I would imagine we'd see the market going anyways. But anyway, I'm just pointing this out again. I think that we're in a situation like this, right, pretty much here at, you know, end of October. I think that this would be how our November would look like. And then I feel that this is how, you know, December would be. And once again, not only just due to this fractal, but I mean, we have some, you know, targets and stuff coming like that. But this, just to show the overview once again, is like, you know, this is why I think that we could see something like dancing around that all-time high, because that's exactly what we saw in 2017 as well. Okay. So this area right here was October, the end of October, and we basically made a new all-time high, had a pullback. It was only like 15%. Then we made one smaller all-time high, like, you know, 5% higher, and then we had another 15% pullback, nothing crazy. And then November opened up and a straight launch, right? So if we saw something similar, we would be around 100K by November, middle of November. And then that, you know, kind of would come through with a possible dump after that. And then by the end of November, you could see, which Plan B's targets, I think, are eerily, you know, lined up to meet this fractal too, because he's looking for 63,000 at the end of October. This would put us where I think we're, you know, obviously most people would agree we're going to see that no matter what, even if it doesn't pop up to 70K. And then, you know, November is interesting because, once again, November, a monthly candle, obviously we open at a price, we close at a price. Just like in September, we started at 40, we went up to 53, we closed at 43. You know, we went to 40 at some point too. You know, this is like, would take us up to 100K in November, around there. Like, so it could be 97. I'm sure it's probably going to be more so under 100K, right? People sell off a little early, 96, 97, 98, get this pullback right here. But then that's middle of the month. By the end of the month, you could see a V-shaped recovery and be trading back at 100 by the end of the month. So from there, you got the top and so on. Now, for actual targets, I put up, you know, I do this daily live stream now every day. where I go over just like, when you got pullbacks and everything like that, these would be the ideal, support zones coming in right now is the 21 and the 55 EMAs, blah, blah, blah. These are where they'd be right now. The next targets to the upside, which I get for a short-term base, I get it from taking this previous September high of 53, dragging it to our low right there, right? And I just turn off these fib extensions there.
Sorry, Crypto Weatherman's in my live stream right now saying cancel the bulls. So
cancel the bulls. All right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But 70K right here coming in between these two, 66 and 70 would be where I'm looking for this short term. But like I said, and then come back down around right where we are now, 63, 65, whatever, close out the month, and then essentially just launch from there. So, but worst case scenario though, too, once again, I bring up the pullback ideas, right? So the 55 daily right now would be my worst case scenario. We drop to, which is about 53K. All in all, that'd be, a pretty monstrous drop, right? That'd be like a 20% pullback. I don't see that though. I don't think we'll get under this daily 21 EMA until 100K. So basically it's any of these pullbacks right here. I mean, I've been pretty, shotgunning them on some small leverage longs and this and that. And then yesterday we pretty much almost made it to this daily EMA, but anyway, short term, I'm looking forward to go higher. So the rest of this week though, closing out around where we are now. But in the meantime, if you kind of go up to 60, 70, I'd be interested. I wish that we should do it live with my uncle, the crypto weatherman, once and for all, baby. Bulls versus the bear.
I'm older than him, and so anytime anyone says Uncle Crypto Weatherman, I'm like, oh man, I'm an old man. So anyway, dude, there's some things that you've been that you talked about that I'm just really interested in. So I pay a lot of attention to those 2017 cryptos that have not yet passed their all-time highs. Um, so EOS, Neo, Nano. I don't think Nano, right?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yep.
Yeah, I think yeah. So some of those. Do you think that they will outperform a lot of those that have already crossed their 2017 all-time highs?
I don't know, so like
Yeah,
that's the question here, because it's like I've had like this thought that if they don't, I wonder if
they're going to die.
we lead in.
Sorry.
They could, but I'm just wondering in all the way through April of 2018, right? Like I remember that specifically because I was in EOS at like $5 and it got up to like 22 in the middle of April, and I was like ecstatic. So I don't know how many others did that as well, but it's obviously that's going to be a few and far between that do something like that. So I wonder if we get these breakouts and whatever, and then maybe some of these 2017 coins actually make some new highs a little bit later, or a little bit. I don't know. The answer to that is I don't know. I would imagine that they're all going to blow though with Ethereum, but it is interesting to see that there are a real hefty few that have not broken past their all-time high. So other ones too is like Icon. Do you remember Icon, ICX?
Yeah.
So and that's the thing. Icon was like $12. Walton chain, which wasn't
Hmm.
necessarily a topper coin, but I mean at one point it was. But that was like $40. And it's down at like $1 still, and it's getting into DeFi projects and this and that. And then the thing about Walton chain specifically is like it has a small supply. Man, that thing could fly if it gets unleashed. So it's like one of those times where once I was just going over this right before you got on, and we kind of get to this point where the market becomes I got technical entries and targets I look for, but like how we get to some of these is like the number one question, right? Is like how do you get to Litecoin at this, or X
Yeah.
curate at this and try as at that, and it's like, man, it's sheer hype driven at this point, right?
Yeah.
Not right now, but in a few weeks it will, right? It'll be
Yeah.
sheer hype. I've been going over this multiple times right now. It's like
Yeah.
when people ask me where the money's coming from, it's a simple answer, right? It's every person that because everybody, my family, my friends, I put up information on my personal Facebook for 4 years, easily. never interested, never until the day last week when Bitcoin broke its all-time high. Instantaneous messages. Where can I put 10K right now? Where can I put this? And I used to be a food and beverage director, so I know, at a country club, a couple of them in Naples, Florida. So I know some higher end people, whatever, in this area. And the same thing with them. It's not just small $1,000 investors coming to the table right now. I got the 3 guys. They reached out. Hey, where can I put 300K in right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like at all time highs and at this and that. So it's like there's going to be so much hype going around that if Litecoin or Neo or whatever, or even EOS or anything, at some point, we're going to get these large caps moving again, and it'll be exciting to be in the large caps. Right now, it's the small caps are what's sexy, right? That's what everybody's attracted to, and the possibility of this and that. Well, at one point, all this FU money that we're making, it will shift to Bitcoin and the large caps, and there'll be days when DOT is rallying 100%, and then you got these small caps that won't move as much, right? So that's just kind of how it ebbs and flows. And Litecoin and all this, and I guess where I was getting at with that is that the hype situation. So if Neo and all this, if they can come out with a partner, it doesn't even matter if it's real at this point. Partnership. If you can dress yourself up well enough as a project for the next 90 days, people will buy it, and all they need is a one-liner to tell their friends why they're excited they just bought, MTV or Litecoin at $300 because they just partnered with Costco or whatever, whatever it ends up being, like, and it's just that's how I see it going down.
Yeah. So we saw a glimpse of this last week. I mean, Bitcoin crossed that all-time high. Everyone was, and I got a little caught up into this, just thinking, okay, well, this is sooner than what I thought it was going to be. So I guess we're off to the races now. And you started seeing Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum's looking really good right now. It's almost at $4,300, but I think it got rejected like right at its all-time high, and then went down below 4,000. You saw Litecoin pump. You saw some of those major alts start pumping, and then it was like, oh, hold up, fake out. But we saw a glimpse. We saw a glimpse of what's coming. Just those few the 24 to 48 hour period last week. And so what happens again?
Right.
We see Bitcoin going to $70,000. I think all of a sudden we're going to start seeing. There was something that you said that I've been telling people on my live stream. I think I read it on your Twitter account, that the major alts, I don't know, top 20, I think is what you were referring to, maybe top 30 or something like that. They're all poised. Every one of them, we're unhesitatingly, like every single one of them is poised to pump, which I think is coming, in November.
Yeah.
Or even if how you're thinking it's going to play out this next week, if it does go up to $69,000 or something like that, we'll see a mini run like that again. But then November, it's like it's off to the races. So, yeah.
When you say and this is one thing I wish, but when you said this last week, which we kind of did this whole situation last week, right, on Tuesday, and I went over this fractal idea, like, once again, like, totally speculation, right? But what this fractal is the exact price action of last the run's Bitcoin price, right? And I could pull it back up, but I won't, right? So, but what it did was that in October, in literally the middle of October, we made a new all-time high from the whatever. At that point, we actually had the recent high was in September. It wasn't back in May, so we did a little different. But we made a new all-time high middle of October, right? And you know what? I will show it just because I just to not have to be too painty here. Just to kind of put like the idea that I don't think we are ahead of schedule at all, or obviously we're not now, because you can see how things kind of pulled back. But even then, we made that new all-time high for Bitcoin in the middle of October, and we had just this, same deal, like a small pump above the all-time high. Then we had a 15% correction, and then we had another small pump right at the end before another correction. And I'll show you what I mean right here. So once again, everybody, I'm just kind of taking a peek at the previous cycle to get a little, idea of what we saw before, right? Because it's pretty similar. So right here is what I'm referring to. And this is October 12th, right? So right here was our previous high at the time. and we came through. We made a brand new all-time high on the 12th. Spent a few days up there, and then basically had this 15% pullback, and that was on the 18th of October. So then we made one small last move there on the 21st, and then we had, came back once again, just, right under it. And then basically in, where did we break past that all-time high fully and held it? It was actually on Halloween. So into the 1st of November, let's call it. And then from there it was about a 2-week rally basically. So or 1 week actually. But it's right on par with, with the previous cycle and mixed in with how you see November basically just launching, right? How we kind of anticipate that as well. Now, the only thing that has been a little bit, not a little bit, a lot different to me has been Ethereum, but it hasn't broke its high, right? If Ethereum would have went to $5,000 last week, that would have totally jacked up, my view a little bit, but it just hasn't. And, we just have not broken the all-time high for Ethereum, which we haven't broken the all-time high for Bitcoin either, which is fine. But right now we've just been basically, if I can get a cleaner version of this, we'll just, you're still just trending sideways, but with an obvious cup and handle pattern at play here, right? But we're, this is a little bit more onwards and upwards than just sheer sideways. But I do anticipate that we'd still probably get this sideways movement for a little bit longer until, like you said, entering into November, we get that launch. And one thing I went over yesterday or Sunday in an exclusive little video I did on my Patreon was, first off, I want to show this anyways. This is all the altcoins, right? Everything, Ethereum, everything but Bitcoin. What's really weird is that on this daily chart, it looks like there's an all-time high right here. So we haven't necessarily broke that, but for some reason on the 4-hour time chart, I put this yellow line here because that was what I was looking at as the all-time high for the altcoins. And if you look, on this, it would appear that we've broken out from it, and essentially you get a, you get a breakout, and then you come back down, you retest, making, hopefully this resistance, which was there, now support, and you take off. So it's interesting to see how this will play out. But then, like I said, when I switch it to the daily time frame, for some odd reason, there was like a little what's it called, a wick up. So I'm looking more into that. But either way, regardless, we're so close. And this is also what I mean by all the altcoins are poised, because this is made up of the top 125 altcoins realistically, right? Of their market caps. Like, this is weighted heavily on the top 150, 125, whatever it is. So that's why we see this in every single altcoin. You see this in Chainlink. You see this in everything, literally everything, right? I can pull them all up. Theta, like everything has this. But what I was paying attention to the most was, once again, just kind of looking left and seeing what this time frame back in 2017 looked like for altcoins, because everybody's still under the impression like Bitcoin will be the only thing running. They're trying to get out, they might sell some alts, get into Bitcoin. And I urge people to consider that, yes, there might be a day or two where we get some red 20% days in alts, because people are going to take profit, and people will do that. Just putting this here so people can see what it is. But right here, right, you can literally see, once again, a similar situation. This is September, right, rounded. This is November 10th, right? So, and then realistically, right here is when we pretty much launched onwards and upwards for real, right, which is basically the 4th of November. So I was going over this yesterday, a couple of days back, and I was like, we're literally within a week of the greatest altcoin season. I call it the mother of all altcoin seasons coming, because this might look small, but this is going to be hundreds of, this is going to be trillions of dollars entering into the alts, right? So obviously the main event is going to be, between December and January, but from this point to here, it's face melting is an understatement, essentially, right? So and we also saw that, while Bitcoin ran up already, broke the all-time high, like the altcoins still did pretty well. Most people, it's not like we're just losing and holding a bunch of bags of, just red, alts right now. So on top of that, it's one of those times where Chainlink, all these ones are about to, break out. You want to be getting into some of these when they're about to break out, not when they're, full on, up 30-40%. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at it. Chainlink is in the 30s. I haven't seen Chainlink in the 30s for a long time.
Right. Yeah, it's been doing well. It was like $25 like a week ago.
Yeah. Polkadot, $45. I mean, like, I remember in July, Polkadot was $10 and telling people like, hey, it's at least going back to its all-time high. But I mean, I thought for sure beyond that. Um, I mean, VeChain, it's been a while for VeChain. It's moving up. So again, I mean, major alts, and then I mean, even I know that there's a whole lot of like KuCoin. I signed up for KuCoin for the first time because I was just like, man, FOMO, whatever you want to call it. I'm missing out on lossless. I'm missing out on all these gems that you guys are finding. You and a bunch of you people, Blockchain Boy, you've been talking about lossless, and
Yep.
I want in, you know. Um, but yeah, so it's just like great signs ahead. I'm curious to know from you. I mean, just all right. I'm thinking about this. Ethereum peaked 27 days after Bitcoin did in 2017, early 2018. So December 17th and whatever 27 days after that was Ethereum's peak in January of 2018. And then again, 27 days, um, Bitcoin peaked on April 14th or April 18th, and then Ethereum peaked 27 days later. And so I'm thinking something similar, maybe not exactly 27 days, but something similar is going to happen this time around. And so, but I'm also picturing a lot of, I didn't have a whole lot of, I have 30 plus cryptocurrencies now. I did not have that kind of diversity in 2017 and 2018. So I've been thinking that there's going to be a lot of peaking in between when Bitcoin and Ethereum peaks, and that there's going to be several microcaps that peak in between when Bitcoin and Ethereum peaks. And so I'm curious to know about your what's the strategy? What's the game plan from moving between one and the other? And I'll say one more thing: after Bitcoin crossed its all-time high last week, I realized, all right, I have to have more of a trader's mentality. I mean, for those of you guys watching, it's like you know my strategy. I'm more of a buy and hold guy, but I'm looking to sell at least 65% of my portfolio by the time this is over. And so now I have to do more of like a weakness of mine, which is being more of a trader and having that mentality. But I also want to make gains. I want to make those gains at the end by jumping from one thing that peaked to another. So that's a mouthful,
Right.
I know, but I'm curious to know your
Nope.
strategy here.
I'm just writing down 4 bullet points right here because
Yes.
I'll unload on all those as answers real quick.
All right.
Um, so here's my so if you don't know, right, from my end, 2017 came through. Litecoin was my first coin I really got. I really only held Litecoin for the majority of 2017. It did well, got into $3. It rallied substantially. Towards the end, I didn't sell at all. And I mean, towards the end, at the end of December time, I started pulling some profits and buying some other things, X Factor, chain, not chain link, but some all the V chains and the Solanas and whatever was
Yeah.
at the end. It was like Electronium and blah blah blah. Tron was probably the last major one I got into right as it like exploded pretty much. And I guess what I have to say on that aspect is like thinking back, I didn't have any idea what I was doing, and I was totally a part of the herd, right? That I
Yeah.
compare to, that I hope that I separated myself from at this point. So far, I've done okay, but I didn't have any idea what was going on. Thought Bitcoin was going to flip another month, and the biggest thing was that it was just going to go up and it was never going to stop. There was no fundamental reasons at all why everything should have completely crashed at the time, right? So, but going on the idea, the first thing is the peaks, right? There is going to be multiple peaks. I agree. And one thing coming up that I've been going over that's kind of not worrisome to me in the sense of if anybody sells early, I think first off, there's going to be 2 issues. There's going to be people that are going to sell too early, which
Yeah.
the end result of that would be that they buy back in later with FOMO at a higher price, expecting things are going to continue higher because, like I said, at the very end of this, it's going to be so confusing. For me, I'm a total trader strategy, just so all of you know. At the end of the day, I do plan on accumulating Bitcoin after all this, like accumulate the most amount of Bitcoin. So I leverage my altcoin positions to not leverage trade them, but I leverage trading them itself and building more buying power to come in and get more Bitcoin at the low end of it anyways. But I have no attachments to any of these projects, anything. Completely emotionless when it comes to that. I used to marry the projects back in the day, and they divorced me pretty hard, took all my money the next year. So that'll never be something I do again. So I have a totally different viewpoint on this market, and I view it as just one simple thing: is that there are major players and whatever that, you know, basically come in and buy the bear market lows. We could call it institutions, we could call it whatever we want, right? And basically they need to offload it, right? So these peaks come in. It's 4 years, you know, time based on the, you know, the halving cycle, where basically every 210,000 blocks, aka around 4 years, we get this huge supply shock initiated into Bitcoin. Rally comes. The rally isn't, you know, the FOMO really is driven by two things, and it's price, right? Because even you said it yourself, right? You're missing out on these gains, and like you'd never look to KuCoin in a normal setting, but because this is going, you know, like you want in on that, like why wouldn't you, right? So the imagine how many people, KuCoin has been crashing because it just cannot handle the amount of influx it's had in the last few days and weeks, and that's a glimpse also of what's to come around the peaks. We'll get to that. But at the end of the day, like we're looking at this, I'm looking at blow off top coming in, 100K, 250K for Bitcoin. All these altcoins are going to explode. And the reason that a lot of these altcoins can get to these valuations and why it's almost timed is because the major players that have held Bitcoin, let's just say from $3,000, let's say they offload 50%. They're gonna scale out, right? They offload 50% at 100K. We get a nice 30% pullback. Everybody thinks that the market is, you know, topped out. Bear market's here. Altcoins are gonna run regardless because we're all expecting a month of altcoins to continue higher, right? So now we're into December or whatever, and the altcoins are running, and people start selling their altcoins a few weeks after, right? So this is where everybody's like, okay, well, you know, maybe Bitcoin's on the incline on that, what I showed you, where we have that little V-shaped recovery, and we close out November actually back at, you know, around 100K again. But anyways, you're going to have all the altcoins running, and people are going to start taking their, you know, cashing out, thinking that they're good. And, you know, if they're at great profit, that's amazing. I'm not saying that that's bad, but what will happen is I think that that's not going to be how the real event goes down, right? Because at that point, altcoins are going to launch regardless. And this is where I get the idea that where people are going to sell early, because Bitcoin comes down from 100K, drops to 70. A lot of the altcoins are running. 2 weeks later, a lot of people start taking their profits, which is great. And then 3 weeks later, Bitcoin rallies past 100K. The altcoins have not stopped at all. You're starting to see 40x, you know, gains, 30x gains, 20, whatever the case may be. And then people tend to buy back in when it's already, you know, it's gotten there, like, right, like things of like the small cap gems, for example, they've been busting for 2 to 3 weeks now, and after 2 or 3 consistent weeks, now a lot of people are like, oh, I got to jump in on those. And I went over something earlier where we might see the shift a little bit, not like saying the 100x gain target won't be met by January, but we might be shifting to these larger caps or the mid caps, and obviously Bitcoin as well. So with that being said, what I'm saying is that we might see a lot of people sell too early and then buy back in at a higher price, which I think that's going to be detrimental to a lot of people, right? Because then you got your whole mindset changes. This is going to happen so fast. A lot of people are not planning this stuff, right? They're not making a plan. They're not like even consider, because you don't even know what this is going to look like. I mean, $100,000 Bitcoin, we talk about it and we joke about it and whatever, but when we see that, when we wake up in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to be mind-blowing, man. How excited were you when 65K got broke, right? Like, it was just, when it comes to fruition, even for us, it's like, that's awesome. Like, it's here or whatever. So, like, the average person is not planning and preparing anything, man. They're going to take out whatever at this time early, and that would be fine if you could walk away, because obviously, well, even if we went higher, we're going to come back way lower than what you sold out at. Now, the other issue is I see people are going to be desperately against selling towards when we're pretty much topping, because now you're going to have some confusion, right? Because 100K was supposed to be the top, and mind you, I've done this a poll on Twitter, you know, just asking a bunch of people in general and everything, and the majority of people I've talked to and seen, you know, taking polls on and this and that, the majority still think that 100K would be the top. Yeah. So regardless if it is or isn't, like, we all know how that's going to end, right? Like, and to me, to inflict the most amount of pain on people, it's not going to be to turn the market around right now at 60K, right? Because at this point, it's just still pretty much just the crypto degens that have been holding on. And at this point, if it goes down to 20K from here, we'd just be like, it is what it is, right? To soak everybody in, it's gotta end with, you know, the herd looking like some sheep, right? So to me, it would have that 100K run up, a pullback, and then to hurt the most amount of people is going to be to have all those people that sold around 100 or a few weeks later in their alts because they, you know, thought it was early. The altcoins are going to be the most painful because if you're selling out, you know, like I said, the small caps even or whatever, like they'll still run on the way up. It's not like everything will not run. But if you got 100x runway right here, and we just knocked out the first 200-300% lossless, for example. You got 200-300% gain right there. We took a little step back, and then along the way, the next few weeks, you might still see another 100 or 200%, right? So all in all, you're up 7x, 8x, whatever, which is great, amazing, great gains and returns if everybody can look at it like that and re-strategize. But everything will move so fast, in my opinion, that I feel like people will get lost in the sauce and jump back in because now it's up 30, 40. And then once the stuff starts getting up that high, if you got out early, you're going to want to get back in. Now, if you're holding and you're getting up to 80x gains and 100x gains, or even just 30 and 20 and whatever, and Shiba is, through the roof and all this and all that, the biggest issue that I see people having are where I was at back in 2017. I didn't want to sell, right? My portfolio was so explosive that I was like, and the media and the sentiment, you're going to have all the major people out there basically calling for this to go up. And then, when we get to 200K, if we get there, right, like I think that'll be overlooked. I think it'll be the idea of like, we're going to go to 500. We're going to go to 1 million by mid-year and all this and all that. So I guess that wraps up into my idea of the peaks too. So I don't think any of us are going to be able to nail the peaks, right? Like it's just one of those things where you can have an idea, but this is also where I feel, you need to think of, and not even just think of them, like have some targets, right? Whether it's just something you have in mind or whether it's something you keep track of. One of the biggest things to me is Ethereum. When Ethereum gets to a certain target, whether that's the top or not, because when Ethereum says the party's over, the party's done, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's basically how this goes from what I have looking at here. So, and to me, I see it topping at 10 to 13,000. Maybe that's wrong, but if that's not, and we top at 15 or even 20, I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with getting out of my other altcoins. I don't have any Ethereum. I don't have any Bitcoin, right, on spot. I have leverage trades on both of them. All I'm doing is building those up to dump them into more altcoins, because realistically, the idea would be that we top out at Bitcoin, whether it's 100K or 200K, whenever that top comes in, we're going to have a huge sell-off in Bitcoin, and all that's going to move into the altcoins. So that's when we look back, a lot of these, the micro caps and all that, like those were the last ones to top and all that, because it's kind of how that does cycle, right? These guys are going to pull that out. They're going to drop all that into, Litecoin and chain links and everything like that, run that up to, the most that they can run that out of. And then while, at the same time, the low caps and all that stuff will start running too. It's not like they won't move at all. They'll just be the most explosive at the very end. Like when you're going to wake up to 200%, gains every single day for a week or two. It's, and once again, it's going on the idea that, to me, for Ethereum, when Ethereum gets to certain levels, I'm going to be really, scaling out heavily of my other altcoins. I have certain targets for them. Like I was showing you earlier, we had like a 1618, or you got the 2 YOLO targets. As things come into my 1618, I'm taking 50% of everything straight off. And then you'll let the other 50% ride. If it hits the next one, I'll take 20%, 25, 30, whatever that may be. And I'm just willing mentally to let it ride, past that. But I feel like you have to have that mentality, because most people are going to get caught, holding on for that one last 100% move. Like the market will still be pretty hot and whatever. And like I don't think most people are going to really think that it's over, right? And then you're going to have the idea that it's going to continue and the adoption is here and so on and so forth. Things like Shiba, like I bring that one. I don't care. Like I trade Shiba often in here. But the thing is with Shiba is that I see that already too, is that people won't sell the damn thing, right? They think it's going to $1, they think it's going to a penny. And like, I have friends that actually are substantially up. And I'm like, man, we're at a position where everything is going to 10X from here. Why don't you just put that somewhere else or whatever, and they just won't do it, man. They're like, nope, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, it's not going to $1. And they say, that's what they said about Doge. And, we go from there. And like, it's just, it's going to be interesting as far as the peaks go. But for me personally, for peaks, it's going to be for timing, right? So I'm looking at January timeframe. The only one that I think it's the only one that topped early was Litecoin last time. I think that like stuff like Solana or Phantom, one or the two of those might be like one of those first peakers, because they've just rallied so hard. I do think that Solana might be like the first one to tap out, but that's just sheer speculation at this point. But like something like that might unfold, and then aside from that, it's just going to be timing, man. Like, Bitcoin tops out around December. If that takes place and we're still cooking around 200, 250 around where that tops and starts pulling back, then you pretty much have, like you said, like 2 weeks to just let loose. But you got to be really cautious and also realize that KuCoin is crashing right now when the majority of people still are not in crypto. KuCoin's been around for quite some time. I've used KuCoin for years. I probably had issues back in the day, but they only had like 20 coins even when it first launched in like 2017. That's going to be the going thing too, is like all the exchanges are going to crash when we have these huge bursts. So wouldn't get greedy around like waiting for your 100th X, target to come in. Like if you start clearing 80X returns on some things, take the month off. You know what I mean? Like it's time to, to just get what you can. There's gonna be plenty of opportunity actually in the bear market too, which a lot of people I don't think really realize. But this is like a short period of time where you can increase your portfolio substantially to basically set you up for the following years, kind of coming into it. And then on the next, next bull market rally in 4 or 5 years, then you're basically, you should have life-changing money, retirement money by that point if you don't get too greedy right now. So as far as the strategy goes, like I said, it would be for peaks and all that. I'd be looking for Ethereum. I have sell targets. I'm going to be taking 50% off at certain levels, and whether or not that's 100x gains at that point, that's not the idea. The other thing is that people have certain targets in their mind, right? So like for me, when I was back in the day, I got into Tron. And for whatever reason, I just said, I'm going to sell Tron at $4. You want to know why? Because that would have, met my personal portfolio goal. Is if like Tron gets to, people start, they start adding up their possible gains with whatever they're holding. And it's like, if I got X amount of Tron at $4, that's going to make me a billionaire, a millionaire, whatever it is. So I'm going to hold out till then. And that's the other kind of carrot that gets dangled in front of everybody. Is you just don't think everything's going to go down at all. So, then what you were saying about getting gains and then kind of like going to the next one is that would be something I aim to do as well, right? So it's like looking like right now, I just put out a little list for people just to kind of do their own research on. I didn't put any tickers, I didn't put the market cap because it's all high risk, but I put out a list that is basically under $20 million on KuCoin. All that is high risk. That is like straight play money you should have, but that's the most financially possible coins that can go to 100x, right? At this point. And we've had a bunch of setups and all this for the last few weeks, like in the trading group and everything. And my one suggestion is that right now is not the time that you want to be like a day trader in the sense of like constantly moving around. But if you have 5 projects in your portfolio and one of them happens to be lossless or whatever, and then you get a 500% move on just the one and everything else is where it was, maybe even lower, probably not a terrible idea to move those profits into the ones that haven't popped yet, right? Because you're going to get a pullback for one, and for two, you're just doubling your buying power there anyways. I always say to pretend you weren't even in lossless, and what would you do if you were sitting on, like just watching this thing, I wish I would have done that. I could have 5x, and then do exactly that, right? Buy more of Litecoin or Chainlink or something else. But you also got to know that at the same time, lossless still has a risk of running away from you. So you got to cut that emotion out, right? Of like missing out on the one you're in, or a lot of people, the X factor is the worst one, right? That coin has kept everybody so hostage this entire bull run. They've missed out on everything. And you're now getting to that point where I think we brought this up last time, where they're probably about to bang, right? They're probably about to break out. There's going to be something that drops in the lawsuit and whatever. But you got everybody now getting to the point where they're willing to jump ship because they've been missing out on all these things and all this and that. I still don't see that one going much more than $30, which at this point, a lot of things can 30x. But up until now, it's like, as soon as that thing starts moving, though, a lot of people are going to jump onto that ship because they can't handle not being involved with that specific project. And that's a mindset there. But for funneling, profits down just for the next few weeks here, because like I was showing you earlier on the total market cap, I don't think you'll need to be super trading right now, only because I think that you'll have the same result at the end of the day. Now, coming to the bear market coming up, that is where you want to start trading, and you want to have like a trading strategy. Right now, I feel like you could sit on your hands and you probably have the same result at the end of the day. If you move this, move that, stress yourself, anxiety, all this and all that, you jumped out of the one, now it's moving, and this, and then coming to the end of it. And if you think back, you'd be like, oh, if I would have just held this one, I would have been in the same position. So the only thing it would be is to kind of acknowledge which projects can go higher, right? So probably not going to see a 30, 40, 50x move out of Chainlink, compared to some of these other riskier assets. So just stuff like that. But yeah, the biggest thing for me that I could suggest for everybody would be timing. Just have the timing in mind, right? 100K is probably coming next month. 200K, if we're going to keep going, it's going to come in December. And then between December and January, the reason that we can get to these huge valuations on everything is because, once again, the idea of the major players, the people who got in at the bottom, they're going to scale out some of their Bitcoin at 100K. That initiates all the altcoins to start rallying up. Now, you're going to have all the exit liquidity you need right then and there in the altcoin market. Everybody's going to flock to this, stuff, trying to get in, buying it, getting in on the small projects and everything like that. And then when we get to 250, if we get to 250, there's generally going to be a 50% pullback. So at $250,000 Bitcoin, that's going to be $5 trillion in that market. If you get a 50% pullback, that's going to be $2.5 trillion that's going to need to find a home real quick. That's how you get something like lossless. And I bring up lossless only because we've just been talking about it. But, some of those that can go to $1 billion, all those under $20 million market caps, all they need to hit is $1 billion. That's 100x. That's where we get those numbers from, right? So 2.5 trillion coming out of Bitcoin, quickly jumping into any altcoins that they can just to explode it. And then at the same time, all the retail people just keep buying it up from them. Eventually, we slowly run out of buyers because the big guys are like, setting back. And then you got all the retail people holding the bag basically at the top. And then there's no more people to buy it. So what happens if you want to get out of this? Now you got to sell it for less, and you got to sell it for less, and you got to sell it for less, and then that's how that's how that produces.
All right, man. Yeah. So just thinking through, like, as you were talking about this stuff, I mean, I mean, I think it sounds good. It's funny. I sold some SHIB. I bought $200 worth of SHIB in July. Shiba Inu. I was just like, you know
Nice.
what? I'm just gonna buy $200, and maybe it's dead, maybe it's not, but I'm gonna ride it up. And I just sold some about an hour ago at 0.000049, whatever, 40 0.49. Um, and I'm fine with that. Like, I sold some of my Solana at $73. I sold another batch at $135. And then I sold another batch at $200. And then I've held on to the rest. I haven't sold, like, the total amount of Solana that I've sold is less than half of my initial purchase. But I took that out. And you know what? I don't regret even selling it at $73. Did I expect it to go to $200? No. But, like, I mean, it's not like I'm just sitting on that. It's not like that's just in fiat. It's either going to stable coins, which is getting me some kind of return, or it's going into another cryptocurrency, which when I sold Solana, it was, all right, Solana's pumping, I'm going to buy something else. And I'm happy to be holding onto those things as well. So that's fine with me, and if I missed out, one thing you said, it probably would have been in hindsight better for me to just hold on to Solana. But whatever, I'm up, and I'm not. I'm realizing some of those gains, and I'm happy with that. Trying to think what
And
else.
that's like that's the biggest thing I think people would have to shake in this market. And
Yeah,
so Solana is a perfect example, though, like you said, like where, I mean, that's a rare one, right? So that's what, if you lined up Solana, 10 coins in December of last year, because December is $1, right? And then it's just completely took over this whole year.
yeah,
You lined up 10 coins, and perfect example actually is VeChain, GRT, the graph, and Solana took off at the same time. And the same amount of, GRT stopped, though, at like 700%.
yeah,
Like, it made a 7x gain. Solana made a 7x gain. Like, both of them pretty much were together. I think Theta was another one at the same time. They basically all went from like one, whatever their price was, they all rallied like, 7 to 15x all in like a short period of time. So even if you lined up those three, right, how would you have known which was going to be the best performer, right? Because even Theta went up and basically came back down to $6 and been sitting there the whole time. GRT rallied to whatever and basically flatlined the rest of the year so far. And then Solana was just the one. So like Solana's another one that I sold actually too. I got in at $1, but we got out, not everybody in the group, but I got out at $40, right? So at the time, same thing. I was like, more than likely this will continue higher, but I pretended in my head, I'm like, what if I never would have got Solana and I would just be on the sideline and just watch it? I'd be happy as can be just to have gotten 40x, right? To dump that into something else. So of whatever I put in. And that's where I did. And like you said, it doesn't bother me. It's great to see $200, whatever. It's going to be higher than that, I'm sure. Probably go to 500, but it's that kind of mentality that you got to have, because otherwise you'll the what ifs, should have, woulda, shoulda, coulda will eat you alive on the inside, and it'll really have you misjudging a lot of things. So, yeah.
Something else that I wanted to touch on too is, like, I know one thing that gives me a lot of confidence that this is going to happen, unfortunately, is that, all right, lossless was a week ago. Everyone was asking me about lossless. And then I would say, like, hey, this is a big thing. Number one rule of mine: don't chase a green candle. And then people would scoff at me for saying, don't chase a green candle. How dare you? Why would you say stay away from lossless? And it's exactly, well, I knew you were selling. I mean, that's something I told people. It's like, you messaged me and said, all right, yeah, I got a nice pump on my LSS, and now I'm selling it. And so that's going to happen in droves in January, where I just
Right.
know a large majority of people, they're going to ask me about this crypto. What are they going to ask me about? Are they going to ask me about the crypto that's about to pump, or are they going to ask me about this crypto that pumped 1,000% in the last 2 days? I have no doubt that they're going to ask me about the one that's already pumped, and then I'm going to say no, don't buy that one, and they're still going to buy it. And it's like, okay, your loss. You are going to lose a lot of money, but tons of people are going to do that, unfortunately. Their loss.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and that's the thing, man. You and I, it doesn't even matter. Like I have really good, like I said, I have good friends, intellectual business people at that, and
Yeah.
which even at this point, like they say, like they'll be asking me about Bitcoin or whatever, and I'll tell them what I have in mind, and I'm like, look, I got no problem selling I know you're holding on, which is great, and that's fine. You've been in since 2013, so I mean, it's not going to affect you if you see a little lull right now, but. For somebody that, like, with what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to collect on the way down, whatever. And if we miss it, then whatever. I trade more than anything anyway. So
Yeah.
to me, I'm able to capitalize as we go up or as we go down. And if I do miss out on getting to that goal of what I'm looking to do, then I'll reevaluate and I'll figure something else out. But I'm come to terms with that, for one. For two, anybody can say that they're willing to hold something for 5 years and all this, and unless you truly bluely are, in my opinion, right now, for this next 90 days, maybe even the next year at this point, unless you are like fully committed, or if your plan at this point is going to be to hold for 5 years, I would sit the next 15 months out, if that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Because it's almost pointless to me to, if you're not going to sell, if you are like not going to sell, and in the next 90 days, this is not investment time, right? This is load the trucks and offload the boat, back in January. But if you're planning on like buying Bitcoin and holding for 5-10 years for your kids or anything like that, it is pointless to me to buy it anytime in the next year right now, because it's basically going to go up to an astronomical number and then crash down to wherever we're going to hit. So that's one idea there. But the other thing is that to tell or to, once again, we could be wrong at the end of the day too. So I mean, everybody could come laughing at us as well. But holding through a 90% bear market for years is not, nobody's going to hold through. And I you can't even explain it to most people, because the biggest comparison I put it through is the 2-month 50%
Yes.
drawdown we had.
Exactly.
Nobody could hold through that, barely, right? They were all
Yeah.
panic selling, trying to buy back, and it's just it's not fun at all. So the other thing with that as well is going on, this person that I know is like, he doesn't have time to keep up with these YouTube videos and the live streams and all this.
Yeah.
So all he's getting is the media sentiment right now, and the people that he knows that made money or this or that. And once again, you don't remember the bear market time when you're in the bull run. And same thing, when you're in the bear market, it was like you couldn't even remember what it felt like to have days like today, to see 80% gains on these little small caps day after day after day for 3 weeks. That you couldn't get a 10% move to save your life back in 2018. So for him though, already he's like, oh, I don't know if I'm willing to sell, because if it's going to go to what you say it's going to go to in 2025, I don't want to miss that risk, right? And by selling it early and this and that. And he's like, it's just so adopted now, and you can buy it at Walmart, and it's like with all the ETFs coming out and this and that. And I'm like, do what you got to do. Like it's your money, it's your things. But basically, you're never going to be able to tell anybody to do, like, you're getting on the point of like, it's pour them or something like that. But we can only put out so much information, lead them to the water if somebody else has got to drink. But also too, like, don't take what we say for the only thing, as gospel. Take this and kind of think about stuff, right? Like, my biggest thing right now is like, I point out a totally different view here. And this is on a trader view only, right? Because most people are looking at the big picture of, I'm going to invest in this or that because it's going to change the world and it's going to do this and all these and all that. And my number one combatment is that there was zero Ethereum news in 2018 that should have dropped 90% value for that company in 2 years.
Yeah.
It will happen again, and we will come down, crash to $2,000, $2,500, right? Like basically where we were, just higher than where we were in the summer. Yeah. And people don't wrap their minds around that. So that might have just went on a random tangent there, but that's where we are with that.
It's good. I mean, I second guess myself. People always ask me all the time, why am I not selling my Bitcoin? Well, it's like, okay, I'm 25% of my portfolio is Bitcoin. I'm like, I'm okay making major gains on the rest of it, and just kind of holding on. I mean, I own more than one Bitcoin. That's all I'll get into as far as the details on that. And
that's enough, man. Like that's Go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I mean, we talked last week about the last 40 years of Bitcoin mining. They'll only be mining one Bitcoin total, and it will be worth it to mine. So I own something that 100 years from now, people are going to be putting a lot of energy towards mining that thing that I own right now. Anyway, so I'm okay with that, but I'm also looking forward to making money on the way down too. I mean, I'm planning on buying puts in Bitcoin miners on Robinhood. Buying some betting against the miners because they'll go down with Bitcoin. But anyway,
right.
I mean, that's more your field. So,
but no, but I mean, like, and that's for somebody like you. This is, I think, where a lot of the new people coming in, they're going to be more. Not many people are going to be in your boat, I guess, is where we're at, right? Like you've done this right? You've done the holding for at least if you've been holding Bitcoin, even from the previous all-time high, you've done it right. If you have one Bitcoin to your name, you've done it right also, because that's really all that really should matter. Like to have one Bitcoin at some point in the near future, I think will be worth its weight in gold. And once again, we get on that idea that there's only so many. Not even every millionaire in the world could have one Bitcoin technically, right? Unless we do start, branching these things off in some kind of paper, whatever. But realistically, like true and blue Bitcoins will be so valuable because of how scarce it is. And if you don't need to live off of that, right, then you're good. It doesn't matter. And then, you could have a whole, like I have some Litecoin that I basically, because now at this point, the buy-in that I got it at $3, it'll never go back to $3. I'll never lose money on that. So to me, I'm like, whatever. It's in a Ledger Nano, and it's chilling, right? So, and eventually I'll get rid of it, whatever. But if it doesn't, I'm not living on that Litecoin and all this and all that. But the people that are going to come in with the get rich quick overnight stuff, that's the people that are going to get burned the most in a bear market. Because even if you hold your Bitcoin, right, you don't sell any of it, you hold yours down, it's going to come down to 50, 60K, right? Where we're at now, 40, 50, 60K. Let's just call it that. Like maybe it's a little less, but you're in no worse position unless you buy more at 200. You know what I mean? Like that's the idea there. So I think that's something that's hard for people to swallow too. And the majority of people are not in crypto yet, right? Like you could do Google searches and all this and all that, and you could see that the hype is not there yet. It's coming, but it's really not there yet.
Yeah.
And I think that this Thanksgiving 100, like I've been saying, 100K by Turkey Day, and I think that Thanksgiving, the holidays, $100,000 Bitcoin hits, the altcoins are going to be what draws everybody in. Always is. Yeah, it's going to be massive, man. And this is all more so for the person that's going to come in and get the top or around the top, or even people that are coming in now. Like you're gonna see great gains coming into your hands, but it's like only if you realize them, right? So if you're gonna have this short term, if you can't handle a 90% downturn for a few years, maybe like yourself or even myself on some of the things I'm holding, but only because we already went through it. I wouldn't have chose that originally from my entry.
Yeah.
But now that it's years later and my entry is nowhere near coming back to, I would imagine we're never going to see a $3 Litecoin. I would imagine we'll never see, wherever you ended up getting in a Bitcoin. And that's the idea there. For me, I have a totally different strategy though too, based off of more so of a trading aspect. And like I said, I've meticulously planned out the next 90 days, but I've even more meticulously planned out the next 4 years. So that goes into another strategy. And if I have to change that, then I have to change it. But that's what's going to work for me. And most people aren't going to be able to do that, especially if you come into this and you make all this money. The hardest thing for most people to do is going to be to sell because they want to make more. A lot of people are going to come in with $1,000 and see it go to 10, 20, 30. And that's not necessarily, it is life-changing and it isn't at the same time. That'll pay off a bill, or that'll pay off a car, but you're not going to be able to retire on 30 grand or, whatever. So I think that's what gets a lot of people hung up, is that they won't be able to, it's still probably going to be a good 4-year window of time before you can make exponential money. And that's an important thing to realize. Right now, it's just going to be easy money. But it's also going to get very, very confusing emotionally around the top.
So one more, I know the answer to this question, but I just want to hear your thoughts. I'm noticing that SafeMoon is pumping. And anyone who watches my channel knows that I hate SafeMoon is probably my least favorite cryptocurrency, not because of anything other than the fact that I ripped on it and people, the SafeMoon army just went after me like crazy. And screw
Right.
you all, SafeMoon people. But it's pumping. And so I'm thinking, I'm having flashbacks to April and May during meme coin mania, when I was expecting, we had the Bitcoin run, the Ethereum run, some of the major alts, but not many, not all of them. And then we skipped small caps and mid caps and micro caps, and instead we had this meme coin mania, and that was the end.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is there any concern, any fear for you at all that we could have something similar, and that we'll just skip all these micro caps again in January or whenever everything goes crazy?
No, because the thing is that a lot of people compare certain. So to me, I guess if you're comparing the middle of the bull run to the end, it's like if I could put it in that aspect, right? It's like 2 different time frames basically, and the biggest thing of why all these altcoins will explode the way they did, in my eyes, I don't see. So short answer is no. I don't think we'll have an issue. And the biggest reason is that the safe moons and all this and all that, like they pump. And like I said, I don't know a single. I take this back. I know a few people that got into Safe Moon. Not one single one of them made money because they held on too long, got greedy, and it fell.
Wow.
And even now, they probably maybe got maybe they're up if it's pumping right now. I don't know. I don't mess with Safe Moon either, honestly. But that's a separate issue. But no, I'm going off of the idea of when Bitcoin truly bluely tops out, right? This is when, like I said, the guy who bought it at 3K is going to offload his $200,000 Bitcoin, right? Yeah. Maybe he gets an average sellout of 180 because you'll start seeing the trickle come down. That person will be up almost 100x on a lot of money, right? This is not just small ball. Some dude just spent $1,000 back, and these are major players. These are the elites. These are, people will say the institutions, but which some of them probably are, like, or people. This is Wall Street, right? This is these guys that bought it up when nobody's looking, and whether they say they're in it or not publicly, they've been scooping it up, right? They shorted it all the way down back in 2018. These ETFs are going to allow them to assert the most amount of leverage possible to short it again, right? In January or whenever it happens. And no, I think that the micro, like, once again, that'll draw in. So, like, think about it like this: if you're a whale, right? You probably are with that jacket on. If you knew, right, we just come out of this 2 to 3 year little run. We're topping off. We're selling out our Bitcoin right here. And once again, you have all this exit. Nobody's gonna be buying Bitcoin at not nobody, but most people are not gonna be buying Bitcoin at 250, 100, 100. That's pricing a lot of people out. What's attractive though is lossless at $1 and whatever coin at whatever price. So once again, you basically just cashed out your whole nest egg. You've been working on this for 3 or 4 years. What's the next move you can make right now and basically triple your money? Well, let's dump it into these altcoins because right now everybody's, going to buy them up around us, pumps up the price of those things, right? And then everybody comes in and buys it. They basically pull out and then initiate their shorts on the market and then the whole market comes crashing down. But that's the idea behind that is like, in 60K Bitcoin to 30, however much came out of the market. It's summer sell-off time, right? It's like we see that every single time. You get that summer sell-off, you get a September sell-off, and then you get the big bang, right? So the answer to that would be no, because of that reason alone, right? The major players are going to have that's easy money, in my opinion, right? With guaranteed buyers ready and willing right then and there, right? So that would be my idea on that.
All right. Yep. I mean, I'm with you on that. And like I said, I knew the answer to that question. Just wanted to hear you process those thoughts because, man, that was rough. I mean, I called for the summer lull. I called for it, but it just came so quickly that it was like it was impossible, almost impossible to get out of certain positions. And then we were just kind of flatlining for 3 months, and for certain cryptos even longer than that. Um, so, man, I'm just looking at the chart. It's if you look at the all-time safe moon chart, for example, it's a little blip, but it's just like, dude, come on, not this again. So anyway,
well, and as annoying or whatever, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. If you like Safe Moon, go for it, whatever. But like I said, the majority of those projects, maybe it's different now if it's listed at other places. I haven't really paid attention to that in a long time. But, when anything's on like, Pancake Swap and Sushi Swap and all this and all that, there's very low liquidity there as it is. And anything you can get millions of, which I take it back. Safe Moon was a great performer, is what it is, right? Outperformed probably everything in this market at some point, if you were lucky enough to sell the top, which most people didn't, right? So that's what I get at with a lot of these projects. Shiba is another one that great performer, outperformed so far most of the market. But will people sell it? No, because they're holding out for an unrealistic target, which now is debatable because Dogecoin did it. So it's not even worth arguing. If that's what you want to go into, by all means. But otherwise, it's man, where was I even going with that with the Safe Moon startup? It was somebody was asking about everybody could dump into that, but what did you say a second ago, man? I'm sorry, I feel like I just lost that whole moment there, but
I don't even know, man.
Did like a third live stream today. I'm fried. But it was something about anyways, just in general, nothing wrong with the Safe Moon and all that. If that's what you want to get in, it's just I think there's better opportunities at this point. So I don't know. It's to see that go up, man. I wish I had a really good point. Whatever you just said sparked it, but I lost that one real quick. It must not have been that great. Annoying. Okay, so with Safe Moon and all these, they might be in the Shiba and all this. The thing about them, though, is it brings, once again, think like the whale you are in that beautiful trench coat bathrobe there. Like, how do you get the most people attracted to the market, right? Because they don't know anything. There's not enough time. Like, even with the majority of people in this chat, in your chat, people that have been around at least the last year, you somewhat have an idea of what's going on. Even then, you don't know. We don't know. The person who's going to walk into this market and only know up-only season, that's going to be very enticing. And they won't need to know a market cap, or they won't care because Shiba's already went up 10x for them. I'm happy, whatever. The Shiba going up 600% versus lossless going up 700%. Only people in crypto know about lossless. Everyone on this planet knows now about Shiba, right? And that's the difference, right? It's the media attention, it's the hype. Everybody I know personally reached out. I just got some Shiba. Cool. Good for it. Whatever. Plan to sell it when you can. And what that does though is that those 10 people that were just sitting on the side, they don't care about losses. They don't want to get in a KuCoin. They don't even. That's a big deal. But if I can easily just get on Coinbase and buy some Shiba, or buy, go to, figure out how to get in a safe moon at the time, right, when everything was going on like that, it brings so much more money to the market, right? So it is a good thing in a sense. It's just, like I said, I hate to sound so like blunt when this, because with the idea too that like where's all this money gonna come from, and the idea is really all your friends, all your family, everybody in this planet with a smartphone. It's sad almost, because the majority of people will get like almost rug pulled, let's just say, right at the end of this, because they just don't know. So most of them, most people are going to have to come to a very hard decision. It's like, is somebody like CVO and World War Bitcoin somewhat right, or is this adoption? And do we listen to somebody who went through one of the most painful financial times in their life 4 years ago and kind of warning me against that possibility? Maybe I should hedge against that a bit, whether it's 50% off the table after an amazing amount of gains, or is this what Kathy Wood is telling me on CNBC right now, that this is full-on adoption and everybody should get into Bitcoin because it's going to $1 million next year? That makes more sense, right? Like, that's the stuff, right? So all in all, with Shiba and SafeMoon and all that, they bring new money to the market. It is good in turn. It's just it really does come down to just doing your own research, man. And unfortunately, people will not go much further than something you and I say, or tweet even, right? You said that before, like a tweet is like live time. Like I've made tweets where it's just like a brief idea comes in my mind and I'll be like, this is happening this week, or just like, like something I would just say to you, like, and then somebody somewhere will take that to heart and go dump their whole portfolio into something. It's just the world we live in, I guess. But yeah, all that stuff is all good for the market. It just depends on how you work the market, right? So.
Yep. Well, cool, man. I'm gonna bounce and rest before dinner. So, thanks for carrying the conversation. For those of you who are listening, I'm a little under the weather, and I asked CVO to do the heavy lifting today, because that's why I have my bathrobe on, and you might be hearing me sniffling and stuff. So I'm gonna chill and rest, and maybe hopefully feel better. And I hope I don't have the COVID. So thank you guys. Well, thank you, and I'll see you. Hey, next week, next Tuesday. Let's do it again.
Dude, Taco Tuesday, man. We're going to talk about Bitcoin burritos and all kinds of stuff. I love it, man. I love getting on here with you, buddy. And the rest of at least the rest of this bull run should be pretty enticing. I think that people enjoy, our idea sets here. I'll definitely be wearing my robe next week. So maybe I can get the wife to throw a Bitcoin logo on there or something. Maybe we should start jazzing it up, kind of like an Easter egg, like pushing some coins there, right? Whichever one we're on.
We both get pints.
I'm not on full throttle, by the way. I'm just drinking this new canned water, which is genius marketing, by the way. Awesome, man. Well, thank you everybody for watching. If you're not already following this, this legend right here, give him a follow, and we will, we'll do this again, man. Take it easy. Get some rest.
Peace.
All right. See ya.